Everybody involved was out after the curfew. I'm not going to make a great deal of that, but the point is the curfew's in place to protect. Had persons not been out involved in violation of that, perhaps the situation that unfolded would not have happened. So the last night, a 17-year-old individual from Antioch, Illinois, was involved in the use of firearms to resolve whatever conflict was in place. The result of it was two people.
All right, so that was Kenosha County Police Chief Daniel Miskinis, basically blaming protesters for the shooting death of two Black Lives Matter protesters by a 17-year-old white militiaman named Kyle Rittenhouse. So now Rittenhouse was arrested back in Illinois. So now he shot these two people and then fled the state, became a fugitive after going back home. You see, he wasn't actually there to protect businesses. He was there to, basically to shoot Black people. And that's kind of what happened, or at least to shoot Black Lives Matter protesters. So now, as I said, Rittenhouse was arrested in Illinois, charged with the murder of Anthony Huber, who, by the way, had disarmed him or attempted to disarm him with a skateboard after he shot at somebody else for throwing a plastic bag. And now the other victims have not been publicly identified as far as I know. But as you saw, Miskinis says, well, hey, if they hadn't been there, if they hadn't broke curfew to go and protest, well, then they wouldn't have been shot. But wait, didn't the white militiamen also break curfew then? White militiamen are not legal law enforcement officials. So, maybe if they hadn't broke curfew, then there wouldn't be an issue. Then they wouldn't have been shot. Weird. It's almost as if they want to blame the protesters and not anything else that happened. And look, speaking of why it happened, well, okay, let's talk about why this is happening in the first place, Danny. Oh, right. It's because the officers, Kenosha cops, shot a Black man in the back 7 times while he was walking to his SUV. I know the argument is, well, he had a knife in his car and he was heading to his car. Okay, but a lot of people have knives in their car. Some people even have a gun in their car. Having it is different than using it. It's not the same, right? It's not the same as threatening them with it. And by the way, again, that, is a different story than what was originally told by the police, right? Of where, or at least according to witnesses, when they were on the outside of the car, had gotten into an altercation, a physical altercation. And then the police officer claims, oh, he's got a knife. He's carrying a knife. He's got it. And then that's when they were shot. So, yeah, maybe if your officers had not shot this person 7 times, there wouldn't be protests. Just say. Or again, how about not allowing white right-wing militiamen to directly collaborate with police officers to force a confrontation with the protesters? But the police, I showed the video for you guys. They gave supplies like water to these people to protect property that they didn't own, and then said that we appreciate your presence, and then worked with them to corral the protesters towards the militiamen where they would deal with them. Okay? So, I mean, whose fault is it, right? Whose fault is it? That 17-year-old there, by the way, he illegally brought his gun over state lines, despite only being 17, not 18 years old. And so that wasn't, he was breaking the law himself. Okay. He was not able to use or own or parade a firearm around in Wisconsin legally. He was breaking the law. And it's not like he didn't already also have a rap sheet, but we're not like talking about that. If we're a Black person, of course, that's the first thing they bring up. You had a Kenosha official saying some pretty racist stuff.
I think society has to come to a threshold where there's some people that aren't worth saving. We need to build warehouses to put these people into it and lock them away for the rest of their lives. Let's put them in jail. Let's stop them from truly, at least some of these males going out and getting 10 other women pregnant and having small children. Let's put them away. At some point, we have to stop being politically correct. And I don't care what race, I don't care how old they are. If there's a threshold that they cross, these people have to be warehoused. No recreational time in the jails.
So that was Sheriff David G. Beth, right? So that was back in 2018. This was after a theft at a outlet mall led to a police chase and a crash. There were 5 African-American individuals who were involved in this, and this was the sheriff's response. So, look, this was a big theft. Suspects apparently stole thousands of dollars of merchandise from Tommy Hilfiger. And so, again, police found a car that matched the description. There was a car chase, and then they crashed into a 16-year-old and their mother. Really terrible situation, right? So this guy said that these 5 suspects were a cancer to society. And, of course, this is what you heard, right? So now, wait a minute. The things that he said, lock them up, throw away the key, right? No, no time, warehouse them, lock them away for the rest of their lives, right? And saying, I'm tired of being politically correct. Oh, man. I don't think they're afraid to say it, but I think most people are thinking, no, most people are not thinking, throw the key away. Now, we're saying, of course, yeah, proportional sentencing, right? Obviously, these people did something terrible and wrong. And we're not saying that they shouldn't be punished, but it should be proportional. And you shouldn't say racist things about them. Again, bringing up the stereotype, they're going around, they're getting women, they're getting 10 people pregnant, and then, they should be locked away for the rest of their lives. That's not a good representative of the justice system. So now, again, this happened back in 2018. Since then, after he faced backlash, he apologized. He said, I should have kept my comments better directed towards the incident itself and not allowed my emotions to get the better of me at the time. I have been involved in hundreds of on-camera interviews and press conferences and have shared my emotions before, but never in this fashion or this extent. Well, that's because the mask is off. We see who you really are. Again, yes, this is a situation that is absolutely tragic. And that doesn't turn people into racists. Having your emotions, on air and feeling those emotions, it's a normal thing. It doesn't turn you into a racist. It just lets the mask slip for just a little bit. And so, yeah, this dude seems pretty racist. But understand, this is what the Kenosha police are. They don't protect and serve the community. What they're doing is they're serving white supremacy. They don't even actually follow the laws. Rittenhouse was literally allowed to become a fugitive after murdering 2 people. He shot 2 people, dead. What happened to the law? Do you believe in the law? I thought you're supposed to enforce the law. What happened to justice? Well, it doesn't happen in Kenosha, at least not for minorities, right? And understand that that's the reason Kenosha is on fire. The cops, in shooting a man in the back 7 times, is why the city's on fire. Okay, people like David Beth and Rustin Shesky, who was the officer that identified as doing the shooting, they brought the protests, right? Because they killed a man who didn't deserve a summary execution. Look, even if you're a criminal, right? Even if you've done something wrong, that doesn't mean that the cops should have the ability to shoot you in the back 7 times. And that's what happened. That's what happened. They're not protecting the community. If this hadn't happened, if that incident hadn't happened, there wouldn't be protests and there wouldn't have been these other shootings. And that's it. So whose fault is it, Miss Guinness? Whose fault is it for all of this happening? Certainly not the protesters. No, it was your own cops and their inability to not shoot black people.